Hi guys, Tuesday morning. All right, let's get going. This is the last section for this chapter before your test. Okay, so here we go. 10.9, independent and dependent events. Okay. All right, independent events. And by the way, I can't remember what links that I assigned for you off the top of my head to be done this Thursday. But if it's not one of these, independent, dependent, or probability, go back and look at the proto page and see if there's any, that you need to practice before the test that I did not assign. Okay, so make sure you go back there before the test and study some of that. All right, independent events. They are two events in which the occurrence of one has no effect on the probability of the other. Okay? So independent events, they are two events in which the occurrence of one has no effect on the probability of the other. Okay? Example. Flipping a coin. Like if I were to flip a coin and I got tails and I flipped it again, it could be either one. So the fact that I got tails the first time has no effect on what I'm going to get the next time. Okay? So flipping a coin is an independent event because the first one does not affect the second one, the second flipping. Okay? It's just total random. All right, dependent events. They are two events which the occurrence of one changes the probability of the other. So it's two events in which the occurrence of one changes the probability of the other. So in this one does affect the other. For example, if I draw a name out of a hat, then draw another without replacing it. Okay? So for example, 7th grade. Let's say I'm going to draw two names. Okay? I have all of your names in a hat. I'm going to draw two names. The first one is going to have to bring me tacos. The second one is going to have to bring me Dr. Pepper. And if I were to draw a name, and let's say I drew Miranda, if I put her name back in the hat, then it's this one, because me drawing her name the first time and then putting her name back in the hat means there's not going to be any effect if I draw a second name for Dr. Pepper. She could end up bringing me tacos and Dr. Pepper. But for a dependent event, I would draw the first name. It would be Miranda. And then I keep her name and then draw another one. So that means that first draw does affect who I choose the second time because now I've removed her name. Okay? All right. So one thing you need to remember is, remember yesterday when I said the word or? What did you have to do whenever you saw the word or? You had to add. So today, when you see the word and, you're going to multiply. So whenever you see the word or, you add. Whenever you see the word and, you multiply. Let's start on examples. Page 442. Okay, remember, you got to know the difference between independent and dependent. I'm going to do the evens. All right, so look at the directions. It says state whether the following events are independent or dependent. So number 2, spinning a spinner twice in a row. Just spinning a spinner twice in a row. Okay, not changing it or anything. All right, that's independent because you're just spinning it randomly twice in a row. The first time made no effect on the second time that you spun it. All right, 4. It's kind of like tossing up a coin, you know what I'm saying? Okay, choosing 2 letters for an ID code if the same letter cannot be chosen twice. So are you changing the possible outcome the second time around? If I were to choose the letter S, okay? And if I don't put that letter S in there, then I'm actually controlling the effect or the outcome of the second draw because the S is no longer there. So therefore, this would be dependent. 6, choosing a class president and then choosing a class vice president. Those are 2 completely different things. If I choose someone to be president, let's say, I don't know, Maurice. I choose Maurice to be president. Can he also be vice president? No. So whoever I choose the first time does affect who I choose the second time. So again, because there is an effect, it's dependent. 8, selecting 3 members of the class to form a committee. Well, guys, if you are needing 3 people, that means you choose a name and you don't put it back because you don't want to choose the same person over and over again. So taking one and not putting the name back in the hat so you choose a totally different person, you are wanting to control the outcome. You want there to be an effect, so that would be dependent again. And then 10, selecting a marble from a hat twice with replacement between draws. So in other words, you draw a marble and then it could be green and then you put it back in the bag or the hat, okay? So that you can choose green again if you want to. So there's no effect from the first or the second draw. So no effect means independent. I'm not going to have y'all do too many of those because I'm not there to help y'all. So I just wanted y'all to understand that. All right, 12. Okay, read the directions. For one spin of each spinner, find each of the following probabilities. Express your answer as both a fraction and a decimal rounded to the nearest thousands. All right, so look at the 2 spinners. 2 spinners. All right. Those two spinners are what we're looking at. So number 12, what's the probability of an odd number and the letter B? Remember, and means multiply. All right, so an odd number. How many total do we have there? How many total do you have on that spinner? There's a total of 6. And how many odd numbers are there? 1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, and 5 are odd numbers. So there's 3 of them. And means multiply. How many total B's are there? How many B's are there in the second spinner? There's 1 B in the second spinner. How many total sections are there though? 4. So it's 3/6 times 1/4. 3/6 times 1/4. That's going to get me 3/24. Remember, we multiply across. You can reduce that. Divide by 3. And you get 1/8. And remember how to do your decimal. Divide 1 by 8. And you get 0.125. You need both of those answers. All right. What is the probability, P, of getting a multiple of 3 and the letter C? Don't forget, and means multiply. So a multiple of 3. How many total do we have? Remember, total. There's 6. In that spinner, there's 6. How many multiples of 3 do we have? Well, we have 3, the number 3, and the number 6. Both of those are multiples of 3. Think of multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, etc. But in that spinner, you only have 3 and 6. So how many multiples of 3 do we have? We have 2. That's right. How many C's are there in that other spinner? There's 1 out of how many total? 4. So I have 2/6 times 1/4. Okay, and remember we can do cancellation when we multiply. 2 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now we multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 times 2 is 12. And the decimal is said to round to the nearest thousandths place. I'm just going to tell you what your answer is to save on time. Okay, remember thousandths place is right here, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, so make sure you round it to the nearest thousandths. All right, 16. Okay, about now you should be feeling a little bit more comfortable, and maybe even after this one, I need y'all to start pausing the video so that you can work some of these on your own and then come back and see if you got them right. All right, 16 says, what is the probability of a number less than 6 and an A, B, or C? Don't let those brackets fool you. They're just saying, you know, an A, B, or C, okay? All right, so and Remember what that means? It means multiplication. I'll put my dot there. So in that first spinner, how many numbers are less than 6? Not less than and equal to, but just less than 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So how many numbers are less than 6 in that first spinner there? 5. Over what's your grand total of spaces on there? 6. Okay, so A, B, and C, how many A's, B's, and C's are there in that second spinner? 3. 1, 2, and 3. What is the grand total? 4. There's 4 total in that spinner. See? Right there, 4 total, 6 total. Okay. So now we multiply. You can do that cross, cancellation, divide by 3 on both sides. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 4 is 8. There's your fraction. I'm sure you're using a calculator. 5 divided by 8. And make sure you round to the nearest thousandths place. That 5 is in the thousandths place. So there's your 2 answers. 18. All right, guys, start pausing these things. What is the probability of a number less than 7 and a C? That means multiplication. So how many numbers in that first spinner are less than 7? Well, all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all less than 7. So how many are less than 7? 6 are less than 7. How many total numbers do you have on that first spinner? 6. How many C's are in that second spinner? 1. How many total spaces are in that second spinner? 4. So again, you can count that as 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So 1 times 1/4. Well, anything times 1 is itself. 6 over 6, that's a whole number 1. Okay, just in case some of you forgot. And the decimal form of that is 0.25. Remember, we're dividing 1 by 4 to get 0.25. Just in case you might have forgotten. 4 goes into 10 2 times. Annex a 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. Just in case you forgot. All right, number 20. What's the probability of oh, this is a different one. All right, read the directions. For 2 spins, okay, 2 spins. You only get 2 chances to spin that little spinner. Find each of the following probabilities. Express your answer as both a fraction and a decimal, rounded to the nearest thousandths. So let's say, what's the probability of getting a 2 and a 4? What does and mean? Multiplication. All right, how many 2's are on that spinner? How many 2's are on that spinner? And we're looking at that spinner right there. Oops. That spinner right there. So how many 2's are there? 1. Out of how many total? How many spaces are there? How many numbers are there on that spinner? 6. All right, how many 4's are on that spinner? 1. What's the grand total of numbers or spaces on that spinner? 6. Multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, and the decimal is this. I'm just trying to save y'all time. If you have any questions on finding the decimal, you better contact me and I will help you through it. 22. What is the probability of getting a number greater than 3 and number less than 3? Okay? Remember that's and, so we're multiplying. How many numbers are greater than 3? Well, you have 4, 5, and 6. So how many numbers are greater than 3? That's right, 3. How many total are there? How many total numbers are on that spinner? 6. How many numbers are less than 3 on that spinner? You have 1 and 2. It didn't say equal to 3, it just said 3. Less than 3. So how many numbers are less than 3? 2. 1 and 2. How many total are there? 6. That's right. Okay, so we can do cancellation, or you can reduce that, whichever you want to do. We can reduce that if you want. That becomes, whoops. Oh, excuse me. All right. This would become a half. If we divide top by 3 and bottom by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. We can reduce this. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now multiply across. You get 1 over 6. And the decimal is this. All right. 26. Let's move on. Read the directions. It says 2 number cards at right. Do you see the number cards are yellow? The first set, are drawn at random. The first draw is not replaced. It is not replaced. Find each of the following probabilities. Express your answer both in fraction and blah, 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 to the thousand. It's not replaced. This is the first time. Okay, so pay attention. What is the probability of an even number and a 1? We're still multiplying. Okay, so an even number. So if you look at those yellow cards there, how many numbers are even in that group? You have a 2, a 4, and a 6. So how many numbers are even in that group of yellow cards? 3. How many total cards do you have there? You have 6. Times. How many 1s are there? 1. Now, if we took a card on this first draw and we did not replace it, so how many total do we have now? We have 5 total. This is a total. This is a total. Remember, you have 6 yellow cards. What's the probability of drawing an even number on your first draw? Well, 3 out of 6. But if we did not replace that card, do we still have 6 cards? No, we have 5 left because we drew that first one. Okay? You may hopefully have a parent or someone that if that's kind of confusing because I'm not with you to explain it. Normally I would even have some cards or something, but yeah, this is going to be tough. Maybe they can help you out on that. If not, contact me and maybe we'll FaceTime or something and I'll bring out a deck of cards. All right. So if we draw a card and we do not put it back in the group and we keep it, there's no longer 6 cards, there's now 5 cards. And that's what the direction said. All right, so now we can multiply across. You can reduce this if you want, but let's just go ahead and multiply across and then reduce later. 3 times 1 is 3. 6 times 5 is 30. We can reduce that by dividing by 3 on top and bottom. And I get 1 over 10 is my fraction. My decimal is 0.1. All right, last example. Probability of getting an odd number and an even number. Now again, once we draw a card, we're not putting it back. So how many odd numbers? 1, 3, and 5. So there's 3. Out of how many total? This is from scratch. We're starting from scratch. So we have all the cards there. We draw 1. Okay? So how many total did we have at the beginning? We have 6. But now I've drawn 1, so how many do I have left over for the total? 5. Because I kept the card that I drew on the first one. How many even numbers do we have? 2, 4, and 6. So we have 3 even numbers. Multiply across, unless you want, I mean, we could do the cancellation. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Multiply across, you get 3 over 10. That's my fraction, and your decimal is 0.3. All right, guys, contact me if you're having any issues. I want y'all to do page 442 to 443, numbers. Let's just do 11 through 27 odd. That's 9 problems. Okay, 9 problems. I think that's good enough. All right, 9 problems. I think you got it. This is going to be due Wednesday. Okay, and your IXL is due Thursday. And you have a test on Friday. This is the last section that we're doing in this chapter. So be sure to start studying, okay, guys? All right. Miss y'all.